What's up, guys? This is Lance Archer, or Lance Hoyt, the American Psycho, and you're listening to Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Come check it out and don't be scared.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another installment of WGS-TV right here on YouTube.com/WrestleGamer and ZFX TV. And boy, are you guys glad that you tuned into this installment, because we got a very special guest we're going to be talking to. But first, let me introduce the panel. First off, over on YouTube.com/LanceMossTV, he's our resident music mogul. He is the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
From the Houdat Temple on Instagram, it's James from the Big Easy. James, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm just feeling a little under the weather, but I'm fine.
From the Hood on Instagram, he's the Bay Area MVP, known as Will. Will, how you doing?
Let's get the show on the road, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest started his wrestling career deep in the heart of Texas. He is a TNA original, went to WWECW for a short period of time, and then became the American Psycho in traditional championship wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, that is only one man who fits that billing. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest, Lance Hoyt. Mr. Hoyt, thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
Not a problem, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Can you talk to us about, we know about your start in Dallas. You were known as Shadow, correct?
Yep, that was one of my first names.
But how did you go from working in Texas to TNA at that point in your career?
TNA was it was a pretty new company at the time. They had done a couple shows outside of Tennessee, but then set up shop or set up home in the Asylum there in Nashville, Tennessee. I had a girl. Her name was Lollipop. She came to an autograph signing show actually, and offered to take a videotape and a picture and resume and all that stuff to the office that was TNA at the time. Was good on her word. She took it in. I got an email, and they first started inviting me out to do explosion matches, which at that time they were using to take a look at new talent that was coming in from all over to try to be a part of TNA. And I did 2 explosion matches. I went up one time and just hung out so they kind of not forget my face, and then when I went up for what was going to be another explosion match, it ended up having me on their weekly Wednesday night pay-per-view, teaming with Kid Cash. And then that night after the match with Kid Cash, they offered me a contract.
Wow, that must have been a huge deal for you at that point in your career. And you worked with quite a lot of people in TNA. Who are some of the favorite people that you prefer to work with in TNA?
Everybody that I got to work with and every opportunity I had was a really good one. And there's always up times and down times and good times and bad times. Kid Cash was real cool because everything was kind of whirlwind, and we fit well together as a team, and they had us as the tag champs for a while. I got to work with Ron the Truth Killings for a bit as a tag team partner, and then finished up as in a tag team with the Rock and Rave Infection, working with Jimmy Rave and Christy Hemme. Got to do a lot of cool stuff in the middle there. There's the Hoytomania days in TNA, which was a lot of fun. But
I remember that.
Yeah, it was more of a singles run. So, there were a lot of cool things. Got to wrestle, a lot of great wrestlers and do a lot of cool things, being a part of, from just the Wednesday night pay-per-views to the first Impact in Orlando, going from Fox Sports Network on into Spike TV to doing the very first, full-on 3-hour, monthly pay-per-view that TNA did, to being a part of when they did their first set of live events outside of Orlando, to, being a part of the very first pay-per-view outside of Orlando, just doing a lot of firsts with the company was a really cool experience and really cool time for me and my time at TNA.
Now, let's talk about when TNA first landed the TV deal. When they first went from Fox Sports South to Spike TV. What did that mean to you as a professional wrestler with the company that you're in to land such a big TV deal on a big company like Spike?
It was a real big deal. Fox, it wasn't just Fox Sports South, it was Fox Sports Network. So they were on every Fox Sports network that aired around the country. But we were going from a Friday afternoon slot to a, full on, I can't remember if we stayed on Fridays or if we moved to Thursdays at the time, but, it was moving into a more normal professional wrestling time slot. It was about a 3.5 month period where we didn't have any TV at all. We left Fox Sports, and then it was about 3.5 months where we were just doing internet TV and monthly pay-per-views. And then we came on to Spike TV in October of 2007 or somewhere around there. I can't remember. I think that's when it was. So it was really cool. Like I said, a lot of cool firsts, and I got to be a part of a lot of those with TNA.
You mentioned the tag team that you were in, the Rock and Rave Infection. That consisted of you, Jimmy Rave, and Christy Hemme. How did that concept come about?
It was kind of an interesting deal. Jimmy Rave and I had already been tag teaming as the Rock and Rave Infection for a little bit in TNA, and then we showed up to TV one day, and basically we were told, they were like, "Hey, you ever watch that game Guitar Hero?" And we were all kind of like, "Yeah." they're like, "Well, guess what? You guys all believe that you're rock stars, but you only play Guitar Hero." And we're like, "Oh my God, you're gonna kill us!" But then, they allowed us a lot of freedom because we asked them, we're like, "Well, can we make this our own? Can we do what we want to do?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, have fun with it. Do what you want to do." And so I more or less donned kind of the Slash-esque, image with the top hat and the tattered jeans, and Jimmy went kind of the glam rock with the brightly colored tights and the headbands and the mesh shirt, and Christy Hemme was just rock hot, and so it was a good combination. And I think even though we were a bad guy group, a heel group, we had a lot of fun with it, and the fans seemed to enjoy it too, because Jimmy never knew what city we were in. I always wanted some whiskey and a sandwich, and Christy, even though she can sing really good, always sang really bad on the show. So we had a lot of fun with it. We always felt that it had a lot more opportunity and legs underneath it than it was allowed to do. So it was what it was. We had a lot of fun, and we were a good combination.
Now, where did you go after you left TNA?
WWE.
Oh, yes, and I remember you told me a very interesting story. One GCW show, I was asking, why wouldn't Vince McMahon let you work your American Psycho gimmick that you have now in WWE? And you were telling me a very interesting story about that.
I don't remember what you told me, or what you're speaking of.
Or the fact that you had to change your look so drastically when you got there. You went from having the long hair and the beard to having your haircut.
Yeah, it was, it was one of those situations where the company truly tries to make characters their own. WWE, that's why everybody uses a different name now. Even guys that have lineage in their name aren't even using the name that you would think that they should or would be using. And I was kind of the same case. Vance Archer was a combination of a name that Dusty Rhodes liked, and Vance and Archer is my father's name, so that's how that name came about. And then I was kind of brought up, and there was one person specifically that brought me up to TV. I think he liked the image I had when I was in Florida, and that was the long hair and a braided goatee and the full-on biker jacket, kind of similar to what I'm doing now. And they decided that, it was probably best to take my image and just restructure it. It was kind of funny. I was standing in the ring. It was about 5 minutes before doors open. It's Vince McMahon and Johnny Laurinaitis standing outside discussing me. I don't know what was being said. Who knows? They may have just been discussing what kind of sandwich they wanted to eat later. And then, Johnny was like, "Hey, kid, come here." I was like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "I'm cutting your hair." And I was like, "All right, if you're putting me on TV, I'm good with that." It was kind of good in some ways, and in some ways it kind of threw me for a loop, because it's one thing when you kind of wrapped your mind around being one element in one way, and you have an image that you're used to, and then all of a sudden it's just completely pulled away from you. Chopped the hair off, shaved my face, took the jacket off, and things like that. And it's not that we can't adapt, because that's what we do as professional wrestlers. We're entertainers. But it was one of those things where it kind of changed my mindset drastically, and then in instant, and so it was definitely kind of hard to wrap my mind around where they wanted me to be. But at the same time, so many people didn't even recognize me because I looked so different than when I appeared on TNA TV. And I'd just been on TNA TV in March of 2009, and I was debuting on ECW in November of 2009. So it hadn't even been, a year, and I was already on a new product. So it was probably a good thing as far as image-wise was concerned. Just the shock of the instant change, I think, kind of threw me for a loop a little bit. And I'm not making excuses. That's just the reality of it sometimes.
Now, how was it different from TNA going to WWE for you? I mean, like backstage and everything like that. How was it different for you?
Backstage is fairly the same in the sense that, you're a lot of the guys are there and you're working with people and stuff. WWE is obviously the promotion and production that it is. It's the multi-million-dollar company that it is. It is truly an entertainment company, and it's one of those things where, it's just that much bigger all the time. TNA was doing good things and was taking leaps and bounds and moving forward, and it had changed from, like I said, from what we were doing in Nashville to what we started doing in Florida to what we continued to do even bigger in Florida. And then as it started to move, and then going to WWE, a company that had been around for many, 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 many years already doing this. And the production size was just immense. Getting to be a part of WrestleMania in Arizona was an insanely cool thing, just for the simple fact that we got to see just how big pro wrestling can be when a company puts its efforts and its money behind it.
Yes, WrestleMania is always a spectacle to not only behold, but I gotta imagine it was just a huge spectacle for you to actually even be there performing at the exact same time. It's like one of the hugest hugest stage for wrestling at that time. And I do know at one point they paired you up with Kurt Hawkins in the WWE. What was Kurt Hawkins like to work with?
It was cool. We'd been friends and we'd kind of talked, and the idea of him and I tag teaming, he'd actually pitched that when I first arrived at the company. But I think the company wanted me to kind of get acclimated with how they did things and whatnot. And it took, about 6 or 7 months. And then I got on TV, and then it was the time from ECW shutting down to when they put Kurt and I together. So it was probably about a year from the time he originally pitched the angle to, when it actually came to be. I thought we were a good team. Initially it was doing really well. It was just unfortunate we were kind of not the main focus. They liked us and they pushed us at first, but then I think we kind of got lost in the shuffle, and then it just kind of became we're not doing anything with these guys, and it just was what it was, ultimately what it became. But it was a lot of fun working with him. He was a great wrestler. I mean, there's reasons he's still with the company. I think he has so much potential. It's just, unfortunate that the company hasn't tapped into it yet.
Do you feel that kind of situation is a common occurrence in the wrestling industry today?
Yeah, it is, because, it's the entertainment business, and, people specifically choose who are going to be the stars at the time and for the future. And, as that changes as far as who's backstage and who's choosing those people, that changes for the people that are getting a chance to be out there as well. It's a hard industry to be a part of. I'd like to say it's probably harder than being a professional athlete in just about any other sport, simply for the fact that there are less opportunities than there are in any other sport to be on a major stage.
All right, well, at this time, I'd like to turn over questioning to the Bay Area MVP, known as Will. Will, you're up with Lance Hoyt.
How's it going, Lance, once again?
Yep, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How was it like when you first got into TCW? Was it anything different in TCW than what it was when we went to TNA and WWE?
Well, TCW is one of those companies that's really doing a lot of good things to start off. It's a company that's it's in its infancy. It's only a year or so old. They're finding their legs. They've got a lot of good people around them. They're helping them try to move forward and get bigger and get stronger and get better. And, they're producing a TV product that if you have DirecTV or Dish Network, you can watch right now nationwide on Friday nights at, 1 Eastern, 12 Central. I've been working with obviously at TNA before, then I worked with WWE. I'm spending most of my time now in Japan with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and TCW has kind of become my USA home. I knew a couple of the guys that had been working there for years, for years. I'd been working with them for years, but they were a part of the company already. And so when I had my opportunity to come in, I think, when initially I was brought in, it was just kind of as a little bit of a namesake. And then I think and I'd like to believe they were happy with my performances and they were impressed with my attitude. And they decided to kind of keep me on and keep me a part of the company. And so things have been good.
Okay. What else could I say? Okay, you earlier mentioned about your gimmick known as the American Psycho, which has done well for you. One question I did want to bring up is how was it being in the Rock and Rave Express with what was your tag team partner? Jimmy Ray, was it?
Yeah, Jimmy Ray. Yes.
The Rock and Rave Infection.
Part of that faction with Jimmy Ray.
You're cutting out on me pretty bad.
Yeah, he's having some PC issues, but I think what he was trying to ask you is, you talk about your experiences in the Rock and Rave Infection.
Okay, he's saying the name wrong. I'm sorry. The Rock and Rave Infection was great. It was a lot of fun, but it was more of a comical gimmick. It was more of just let's go out and have a good time. We're good wrestlers, but it's more about being entertaining as an element than it is being, kind of a competitor, a true competitor, somebody that people see as a heavyweight and champion, somebody that people don't see as somebody you'd ever want to mess with, and that's what the American Psycho is.
Wow, very interesting. I apologize for Will. He's still having some issues with his PC, but I do have a question from a very good friend of ours. His name is the Studley Man Ashley, and he would like to ask you, Mr. Hoyt, how have you found your times and your experience in Japan over the last few years?
It's been absolutely awesome, man. I think Japan has done something for me that I haven't had in a long time, and that's helped me build up a confidence. Like I said, I've worked with a lot of good people and had a lot of amazing opportunities in the business from TNA to WWE. But Japan and New Japan Pro Wrestling has given me an opportunity and the confidence to help really create that character. The American Psycho was really born and raised in Japan, and it's something that I'm taking from Japan and I'm bringing into the States, and it's really working well for me. My only hope is that it can continue to get more known in the U.S. as well known as it is in Japan, and so it's a lot of fun. In fact, I'm heading back to Japan on Friday, and I'll be there for a show on the 14th, which is a lot of fun. I'm excited about that.
Yes, I'm pretty sure about that. But I was wondering if I can ask you for a couple of opinions on current wrestlers. How would you if you could describe them in one word? The first wrestler I want to bring up is AJ Styles.
His name says it all. It truly is phenomenal.
Cowboy James Storm.
I don't really have an opinion on him.
Bobby Roode.
Definitely a champion.
Christopher Daniels.
An amazing mind of the business.
Now this is going to be interesting. John Cena.
Don't know him well enough to have an opinion, but he's definitely. You can't hate his hustle because he's nonstop. He's on the road 300 plus days a year. He's definitely a company man.
When you were in TNA, did you ever have the opportunity to work with one of the greats like Sting or Hulk Hogan when they were there?
Hogan wasn't there when I was there.
Was Sting there?
Sting was there. I never actually got to wrestle with him, but I had a lot of good conversations with him. He gave me a lot of great advice. He was the reason I got into the business. So for me, it was a really cool experience just being around him.
I can only imagine. It's just like a kid in a candy store. You walk up to such a great legend like Sting, aka Steve Borden, and just him to partake in that knowledge. That you must have been soaking that up like a sponge. Anything Absolutely. He had to say.
Yep.
I want to go to James and Big Easy. He has a question for you.
Okay.
All right. There's a few questions. First question is, how does it feel? Explain how does it feel to be wrestling in Japan, and what's the difference between wrestling in Japan and in the States?
Again, I love working in Japan. Like I said, it's rejuvenated my career. It's given me an opportunity to find a confidence that I haven't had, I think, my whole career. So I love being able to be over there and be a part of it. They're truly New Japan Pro Wrestling right now is the second largest company in the world, based on number of fans that go to the shows, number of people that watch their television show, number of merchandise purchased and sold. I got to work, which could roughly be seen as the second largest show in the world, and that's Wrestle Kingdom in front of 53,000+ people at the Tokyo Dome, where I got to ride a motorcycle out and just have an amazing fun time in a tag match defending the IWGP tag team titles with Davey Boy Smith Jr. It's one of those things that it's invaluable to my career. And as far as the differences are between Japanese crowds and American crowds, I think the one thing that Japanese fans really do is they pay attention. They pay attention to what's going on in the ring. If you watch Japanese wrestling and you see the quiet crowds, and where the crowds are just really silent, and you think, okay, they're not enjoying themselves. Actually, they're really enjoying themselves because they're really attentive to what's going on in the ring. So when you get a reaction from the people in Japan, you're really doing something special, because that's really drawing their attention, whereas they're always paying attention to each and everything you're doing. And I love working in America because it's like working in a beehive. There's always a constant buzz, one way or another, good or bad. The only thing that I wish the American fans would kind of take from the Japanese fans is a respect level. I think, unfortunately, in my opinion, a lot of American fans tend to go to wrestling shows to almost just hear themselves yell crazy things, and sometimes they take away from what the wrestlers are doing, the risk that they're taking, the time and effort they're putting into being out there and in front of these people, and sometimes people don't appreciate that. And I wish that the American fans, when they go to these wrestling shows, that they would just appreciate that these guys are busting their butts and they're working really hard and they're trying to be entertaining for them. And without the fans, there is no business. And I get sad when I see all this negativity from fans and from other wrestlers who are, thinking about trying to move up into another level, and they're so negative about what they're seeing on TV. And these guys are just going out there and doing everything they can. They're taking every opportunity that they have, just like the guys who are on the independent scene. And, I tell the fans, without them, there is no business. So start finding something in the business you can enjoy and you can like and you can love and you can have fun with and you can laugh and you can cry and you can hate and you can cheer and you can boo. But don't go in so cynical thinking you know everything about the business, or that you just are going to make noise to make noise. Go in and enjoy what you're watching and seeing, and because it's a fun business. It's a fun business for the people that are in it, and it's a fun business for the fans that are around it. It's an awesome experience if people actually take the time to just have fun.
Preaching to the choir here, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. Another question is, who is your dream opponent? Who would you want to fight right now?
Right now, like I said, Sting was the reason I got into the business, and the fact that he's still wrestling, he would be my dream opponent, just for the fact that, like I said, when I started watching wrestling, he was the guy that caught my attention. He was the person that I made sure that I turned on the TV every week so that I could see him wrestle and do what he did. And the fact, that I got to work with him in the company but never got to wrestle him was kind of disheartening. But, it would be one of those things where if I had an opportunity to actually have a singles match, one-on-one with him, I'd take any kind of match. Don't get me wrong, but it would be a lot of fun to know that I could step in the ring with Sting, and before I retire, that could be one of my stories.
Okay.
All right, and finally, we have Lance Monsier, who wants to ask you a very traditional question we have here for guests on WGS-TV.
All right.
Do you have any road stories you can share with us?
I don't know. I wish they kind of given me a heads up on that. I might have been able to think of some more. The fun thing about being on the road with the different guys at different times is just the different personalities, from guys who are just, crazy, and you never know what they're going to say or do. To the guys who are more subdued, and our focus is, okay, what gym can we find for the next day, and how are we going to improve ourselves? And Japan's probably had some more interesting times for me, just because it's kind of the culture to be a part of it, and go out and have a good time, and people are taking care of you, and you don't want to disappoint them, and you're not really on your own, so you're kind of in an element where you have to go and be a part of it. And I've had a lot of cool times out with old Davey Boy Smith Jr. We have some what we call sponsors in Japan, some guys that they're really big fans. They've purchased a lot of ring gear, and they like taking pictures with the title belts and things like that. And we've gone out several times with a couple guys, and it's just fun watching the reactions of the people, and these guys who take us out, and they make sure that we're taken care of, and watching Davey, just put him through the ringers, and me, messing with them and talking to them, and just those experiences. So, I don't have any just crazy straight up stories I could tell you, but they're all really cool experiences to get out there and be on the road and see the people and have fun and laugh and cry and yell and scream and get stuck in traffic and try to find some place to eat and be hungry, and the fans that are trying to bug you while you're trying to stick a piece of steak in your mouth, to the kids that just love the business regardless, and they have no clue who you are. They just know you're a wrestler and they love it. It's awesome.
Wow, that is a great story right there in itself. I can only imagine that you have like so many stories that you can tell from your experiences over in Japan if we only had more time. But fans and everyone, you can always check out the American Psycho Lance Hoyt on Traditional Championship Wrestling wherever you can catch it, on DirecTV, Dish Network, or on Cox Sports Television. You can also go to their website, which is tcwwrestling.com. Lance, what sets you apart from other wrestlers in TCW?
I think I have an intensity that cannot be matched. It's something, I know right now I'm sounding pretty subdued because I'm sitting back relaxing, watching my TV and talking to you guys. But when I step in that ring, when the American Psycho comes out, there's not one person in the business right now that I think can match my intensity, can match the psychotic nature that comes out with the American Psycho. When I step in the ring, it's business, and business is good for me, but it's not so good for anybody else that has to face me. The American Psycho, Lance Hoyt or Lance Arch or wherever you catch me at, it is no joke, and I'm ready to take the world by storm, and there's nobody that's going to stop me, whether it's in TCW or it's in Japan or anywhere else in the U.S. or around the world.
Fans, take his word for it. I have seen his work up close and personal. When the American Psycho is in full swing, it's downright frightening. I'll tell you that you don't mess with the American Psycho when he's in full swing, because there ain't nobody that can stop him.
Nope.
So, Lance, once again, thank you very much for taking the time to join us tonight. Before we go, we have Lance Moss, the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, what can fans expect to see when they come visit your channel on youtube.com/Lance Moss TV?
A little bit of wrestling reviews, album reviews, NASCAR reviews, question and answer, cooking videos, and whatever else pops into my head.
James is over on the Who Dat Temple on Instagram. James, what you got coming up? James apparently has silence coming up, so...
Oh, I'm sorry. I just had to do something. So what do we do now?
Yeah, what you have anything coming up on the Who Dat Temple?
No, not much. It's just really just getting ready for football and just getting ready to watch more TCW.
Yes, as always. And fans, don't forget to like the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/WGS-TV. And don't forget to please subscribe to youtube.com/WrestleGamer and youtube.com/ZFXTV Network. So for the Bay Area MVP, known as well, the incomparable Lance Moss, James from Big Easy, and our very special guest, the American Psycho, Lance Hoyt. Hopefully we can have you back on here again, and we can talk to you more about your stories and your experiences over in Japan.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the Wrestle Gamer, Double B Billy Boudreaux, saying thank you very much for watching.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Hardcore Wrestling Radio. be sure to follow us on Facebook page at facebook.com/Hardcore Wrestling Radio. HWR is also in association with WGS-TV. Until next time, this is Rick Starr saying, see you when I see you.